Welcome to this episode of Our Quest. This is Dimple Mehta, and today we are going to talk about productivity in a digital world. In just a short span of time, the world has changed so much, tremendously. And now, probably, we cannot imagine a world without the digitalization that we are already so used to, right? How to be productive in such a world? That's what we are going to talk about today. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the show so that you don't have to miss out on any episode. I am so grateful to you for taking out the time to listen to these podcasts, and I hope this episode further contributes towards your growth. If you like the episode, give us a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts. That helps the episode to organically reach more people who find it useful and beneficial. Joining us today for this amazing discussion is Roopali Suryavanshee, who is the founder of Right Click Hive and Inbound Heart in Dubai, UAE, both of which are the epitome of digital marketing. Welcome to the show, Roopali.
Thank you for having me here, Dimple.
Pleasure is all mine. How are you today?
I'm all good, and how are you?
Very well. When I thought of a digital topic or anything related to digitalization, the first name that pops up in my head is yours. And that's why you're here. That's why I invited you to do this talk, because in my eyes, you're the expert to talk about digitalization in any manner.
Yes, actually, you can say that I live and breathe digital. And I'm very happy to be here.
Amazing. So, diving straight into the first question that I have on my mind. Digitalization has paced up everybody's lives around us. We know it, right? And we are all on social media. We're doing the podcast because we live in a digital world. How to use digitalization to our benefit to increase our productivity?
So that's an excellent question, Dimple, because the moment digital comes to people's mind, the first thing people tend to associate digital is with social media. But there is a lot more to digital beyond that. And yes, while it is true that digital has impacted our lives in the last 2 years, but as everyone's adopted to the new post-COVID lifestyle, I would say digitization has not just become necessary in the work field, but it has also become a necessity in our personal lives. Now, in order to understand how to use digitization to increase our productivity, I think what's important is to understand what do you want out of it. So, what is your end goal out of it? So, there are lots and lots of things to use in the digital tool world, but we need to pick and choose those tools that are going to help us get to the point or solve the problem that we are looking to solve.
So, there's strategy to it.
There's a strategy to it. So you have to start with the end purpose or the end result of what you want, or what are you trying to do, or what efficiency are you trying to achieve. And now once you've decided what aspect or problem you want to make more efficient, the next thing is to look for the digital tools. Again, there are tons of tools out there, but then you have to evaluate the tools in terms of what does the tool offer versus what you would want. How does that tool work? Is it very complicated? Is it simple? So all those questions have to be looked into, and you have to basically look at each and every tool and evaluate, will this solve my problem, or is it just one of those fancy nice things to have?
Right.
Now, there are a lot of tools, quite a few of them are free, but before you go and choose, check the reviews. And the best thing is to go and ask someone who's actually using the tool. One of the pitfalls to avoid is actually over digitization.
Right.
What happens in over digitization is that sometimes you can find yourself in a position where you've had too many tools, and to manage those tools becomes a task.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like one of those apps you might want to have, that because I have so many apps to manage, I need one more app to manage those apps. Yeah, so that's a pitfall to avoid. The other thing to remember is that just because a tool exists to increase our efficiency, it does not mean you need to use it. It's better to see what your core needs are and then choose. I would say another aspect to keep in mind when you're choosing a tool is to understand whether it is just you who has to use it. And if you're using a tool for your productivity for the team, then will your team be able to use it? If it's a tool that you're using to increase productivity at home, do the other family members need to use it? So you've got to keep all these things in mind as well. um, so if you're looking to do something with the team, you have to understand that can they troubleshoot it on their own if something happens, or are you going to be spending a lot of your time teaching them how to use the tool? Now the job of digitization is to make our lives smooth and efficient, so, and it's not to make it so stressful that we're trying to sort of all the time troubleshoot it, all the time trying to understand how to use the tool. Basically, avoid the overcomplicated complex tools. And there are some underutilized tools that we have access to, and you will not believe it, our Outlook calendar is one of those tools. So people keep saying that I need something to schedule. Your Outlook calendar is the perfect tool. If you're a working professional, you'll definitely have something like an Outlook or a Google
Or a Google
calendar,
Calendar, yeah.
or any of those calendars. Use that. That's a really great tool to use. And I would say, like, get your kids also on those calendars, because then they can all, if they're old enough, then they can follow their own schedules as well.
That's brilliant. So, what I understand from this is even social media is a tool, a calendar is a tool. Whether you're posting a video or a story or simply scheduling a meeting, you are using digitalization for your productivity. Right.
That's
And
correct.
then there are troubleshooting things that we have to pay attention to. We have to see how much to use and how much to avoid and to keep it streamlined. Right.
That's correct.
Amazing. As impactful and beneficial as digitalization may seem, sometimes it so appears that maybe it can have an adverse impact too. So, can digitalization have an adverse impact on us as well?
The job of digitalization is to make things easy for us. Digitalization per se does not have an adverse impact. But I think what happens is that we get so involved with these digital tools in and day out, and we forget to set some boundaries. And if you're not setting those boundaries, those healthy boundaries, I think that is what has an adverse impact. The other thing that can have an adverse impact is if you're choosing to work with tools that are not the right ones for you, or you're choosing to work with tools that are way too complex for you to handle. And the idea is not to get stressful. The idea is to use these tools, whether it is social media or whether it is your basic website content or whether it is your apps to do your productivity or your mindfulness. But the idea is to use these tools to help you grow. The key here is to find the balance between your needs, the tools, your time, and what you want to achieve end of the day. So it's very easy to say that you're going on to LinkedIn, say for example, to be abreast with all the professional news. But then it's also very easy to keep scrolling and then not notice the time. And then you realize that the end of the day, you're running short on time and you're running behind your work. That's where you need to create those healthy boundaries about what you need to achieve out of these tools and how you need to use them.
That's such a simple example, and I think it just so happens that most of us end up losing a lot of time on certain platforms that we may be addicted to, or overly used to. So it's us who have to decide whether digital world is having an adverse impact on us or not. Digitalization in itself is not bad. It's meant for our good, our ease, and we have to set the boundaries, as you said, to understand how much it's benefiting us or if we are getting consumed by it.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably that's why sometimes people say old is gold. There's some people who are strong believers that the older times were so much simpler, better. A pre-digital age was so much better. There are people who believe very strongly about that, which brings me to the question that, can one be highly productive without going digital in today's world?
Again, a very interesting question, Dimple. But I want to touch upon something that you just mentioned. You said that people think that the olden age was golden age. But if you ask my parents today, who are sitting far away from me, and the only way they can probably talk to me is through a phone or a mobile, well, that would have not been possible. So had the pandemic hit at a time when it would we were not so well connected, where we didn't have Zooms and etc., I think we would have lost a lot of family touch.
That's so
So
true.
it's all about how and what is available and how you think about which age is a good age. I believe every age had an advantage, and we are living in a brilliant digital age, and everything around us is just geared up to help us grow in our lives, and make it more comfortable. And it's great if we can just get on and use them as they're supposed to be used. Now, can we go productive without going digital? I don't think so. It's possible to avoid being digital or to be off digital in today's world. But yes, it's possible to have kind of a mix of both, a digital and a off digital productivity. For example, I mean, with the remote working here to stay, you will always need tools that you need to help your team collaborate, connect, work together. uh, and this could be in the form of your Zoom or your Microsoft Teams connection, your Google Docs, cloud shared drives, work management systems like your Trellos, Asanas, Mondays, whatever you have out there. And without these support systems, remote work would not be possible.
That's true.
um, and especially during the pandemic days, don't forget that the pandemic days are not very far behind us. We were all sitting at home and we were all able to work. Oh, thank you to these tools. Now, the digital is also important for the schools. Now, the kids are have been on and off on online learning, and again, that would not have been possible have if we didn't have the tools. Um, and thank you to the digital world, we kids have access to teachers across the world as well now. So you're not contained by your geography. Um, and it's only because of your digital tools that are available that you can every country is now promoting remote working. So you
Yes.
can live in one country, you can work for another, for an employer in another country. You can all be well connected, and there you go. You have your life. You have the best of everything.
There's been a recent trend among the millennials because of the pandemic that because they have the option of working from home, instead of literally working from home, people have picked up their own destinations or holiday destination, for example, and they've just gone to that destination and they're very much working, probably enjoying in Switzerland or Italy or wherever it is that they want to work from. And that's only possible because of digitalization.
It is, and in fact, so is in my case. I have got clients in Singapore. I handle them sitting here in Dubai, and everything is hunky dory. It all works perfectly. Also, I'm post the pandemic. I've stopped going to the office. My team doesn't need to come to the office. We are all well connected. We are all well synchronized, and we are all delivering the work. Um, but it's actually entirely up to an individual to decide how much dependency they need on the digital out there. It's always possible to have a mix of both. I'll give you my own example. I'm a digital marketer. I work with these tools in and out, but till date, my own diary scheduling is done on a
Pen and paper.
pen and paper. I have this brilliant diary which is from Panda Planners, and if you look through it, it's got everything. So I set my weekly goals, I set my monthly goals, I set my daily task list, and I can just go there and check it off. And something about it being a pen and paper, black and white, something about holding a pen and ticking off the tasks. I think that just gives me a satisfaction, and that's just me. There are people I know who would actually do everything on an app, but I wouldn't want to do
Even
it.
for me, ideas flow when I scribble with my hands.
Right
So, yeah.
there. And even now when I'm briefing my designer, I would actually hand draw sometimes, and click photographs and send him as like, okay, look, this is what I want.
Even if
I
you can do
wouldn't.
it on a tab, probably,
Yes,
and
even though I
yeah.
can do it on a tab, even though I can do it on a Canva or any of those tools, I will still hand draw and show it to him.
Yeah.
And I think this is just about how everybody is built
Mm-mm.
and what suits everyone. Now, everyone may not be pen and paper, but some of us might be 50-50, and some of us might be just digital, and it's all fine.
The point being, you can choose what are the digital aspects you want to incorporate in your life and what are the things which you still want to be non digital, whatever works
Yes,
for you.
yes,
Yeah.
whatever works for you.
Lovely. Even though some of us are on digital, off digital, or we have a fair mix of on digital and off digital way of living that we all practice, it's I think it's fair to say that digital world has significantly impacted all of us and somewhere it has entered all our lives.
Is this way of working and operating sustainable?
So yes, digital world has impacted us, and I think the impact is only going to grow more, given that even the biggest of the companies like Facebook, or rather Meta, I should say, are looking at creating a metaverse, a virtual environment that we will all live in. Now, the way that we are operating right now, I think this is the new normal. I think it's time that we all accept it, and a lot of companies around the world, a lot of governments around the world have accepted that yes, this is the new normal and it is here to stay. But to make it sustainable, we still have a long way to go. For example, work from home scenario. Um, there is often times where work spills into the home time and home time goes into the work time, and it's literally it's not up to the company or to your manager or to anybody else. You have to set these healthy boundaries for yourself. You need to put those demarcations in. Now we are all learning and we are all adapting to this new normal. Some of some of the countries actually have started helping create a better work-life balance. I believe it was Belgium who recently announced that the employees don't need to answer work
Emails
emails.
beyond, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Now these are examples where people are learning to realize that yes, because work spills into your home life, it might have an adverse impact in the long run. So we need to create those boundaries in. But are we have we got a sustainable model going? Not yet. Will we get there? Most definitely we will get there.
Which brings me to the final question that I have for you. Most of us are always glued on the social media platforms that we have, and there's always something interesting popping up, taking away all of our time. Is there a digital world that is more than social media?
Most definitely. Digital is a big, big world, and social media is just a part of it. So it's like looking at a huge pie and then saying one slice of it is social media. The rest of it are things like the digital transformation, you've got the metaverse coming, you've got a whole lot of other things that are happening in the digital world, and all good things as well. And yes, as I said, metaverse is coming our way where we will actually live in virtual reality. um, AR is already here, VR is already here. So all these things form the digital world, and social media as we know it. And in fact, for most people, social media kind of limits down to Facebook, Instagram, and possibly TikTok these days. But even within social media, there is a life beyond that. I mean, a lot of professionals forget there's LinkedIn for them to interact on. There's Twitter out there as well. There's Snapchat for the younger generation, and who knows what else would be available in the social media world. But yes, digital is a very, very big world. Our digital consumption has been growing. uh, about 57% of the world population uses digital media for about 2 hours or so.
That's
Two,
significant.
that is significant. And yes, it's only set to grow, given that now we have things like Netflix, which is literally entertainment on demand. So all these things are going to just add to your consumption of it. It has become a huge part, but we use and consume social media not just to interact with our friends and family, but we have been using it to access information and entertainment as well.
Somebody working on digital platforms can possibly get consumed. There's so many options, so many things to do, so many angles to look from. How do these digital professionals such as you keep the day productive?
It's been quite a journey for me as well, because we actually being in the digital world, working as a social media content marketer, a digital marketer, I have every client's social media open with me. I'm consuming content because I need to see what their competition is doing. I'm consuming content to see what the trends are. So I have had to actually build healthy boundaries for myself. So there are chunks of my day during which I will not open my social media. It's blocked. There are chunks of my day on which my WhatsApp doesn't get answered and it doesn't get opened up. Whatever is the most important chat on my WhatsApp with my, say, biggest client, it's pinned up so that I just go open the app, I look at that message, I respond, and I'm done. Anything and everything can wait. So I've had to create a process for myself where I've chunked my day into consuming content, producing content, doing the rest of the work that I need to do to run my own businesses, plus making sure that I have a healthy work life balance, and that my work is not taking over my entire life. But it is a journey. Am I perfect? No. Do I fall off the bandwagon and sometimes open up? Yes, I do. But it's only about being conscious and about realizing that yes, you need to steer yourself back to how you've scheduled your day, and then just keep following it. And you've got to keep constantly training your mind to be productive, to make sure that you don't jump into your different buckets.
That's something very beautifully highlighted by you, Rupali, and thank you so much for doing that. Basically, as productive as digitalization can make us, to be productive with the amount of digitalization that we may deal with, one needs sometimes detoxing, sometimes boundaries, and a lot of planning, scheduling, organizing, and keeping on checking ourselves what we are doing, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you brought up a very good thing about detoxing, and I definitely believe in it. And I think that all of us should actually have a certain time frame in a day or a certain period in a week where we don't touch our phones, we don't touch our laptops, we don't open up our Netflixes, and we don't go in front of the
A
TV.
digital fast.
A digital fast. Maybe it's your dinner table time, so during at my dinner table I try and avoid the phone. Very difficult process, but yes, I try and avoid the phones. And there are times when I'm out with my friends, like it's a family day out. I actually put my phone in a purse, I zip it, and I forget about it. I will not answer.
In the real world.
In the real world, yes, my Apple Watch is still connected to my phone, so it rings. But then,
As much as we can.
as much as we can.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Rupali, for those insightful thoughts. It has been pretty informative. I'm sure most of the listeners would agree. And for personally me, it has been pretty thought provoking as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Dimple.
Lovely.
You have been listening to Our Quest. Thank you for your time again. If you haven't already, please give us a quick rating on Apple Podcast, and don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram or share your screenshot of the podcast and tag us. Links in description. See you next week, same time, same place.